Have you ever felt like there's something different about your life, as if there's a greater purpose behind everything? Maybe strange things have happened, moments of unexplainable deliverance, challenges that pushed you to grow, or even a deep feeling that you've been called to something greater. But how can you know if this is real or just coincidence? The truth is, there are clear signs that a person is marked by God, and if you ignore them, you might be missing out on His divine plan for your life. Few people realize this, but when God chooses someone, He gives them specific spiritual signs. And the most incredible part? Many people experience these signs without even noticing. But today, you will understand exactly what it means to be chosen, how it transforms your life, and why challenges and blessings go hand in hand on this journey. If you've ever been in situations where you felt something beyond logic working in your favor, then this video is for you. But a quick warning, after hearing these signs, your perspective on your own life might change completely. So get ready, because what you're about to discover might just be the answer to everything that's been troubling you lately. And to help this message reach more people who also need to understand their calling, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about spiritual growth, biblical wisdom, and how to recognize the signs God places in our path. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like something greater is guiding you, right, marked by God, to declare this truth over your life? Being marked by God is not a coincidence or just a passing feeling. It's a reality that shapes a person's entire journey. Even before birth, God had already designed a specific plan for each of His chosen ones, equipping them for a mission greater than themselves. Jeremiah was called before he even took his first breath, and many other servants of God experienced this calling without fully understanding why. It's not something you choose. It's something that manifests in the life of those who have been set apart to fulfill a divine purpose. Those who are marked by God realize that their lives have never been ordinary. From an early age, there are spiritual signs that set them apart: an inner restlessness, a heightened awareness of the spiritual world, or even unexplainable events that seem to guide them in a specific direction. Many describe a feeling of not quite fitting in with the crowd, as if they were being prepared for something bigger. Moses, for example, was raised in the palace, yet his spirit never fully belonged there. He had a calling that was louder than any earthly comfort. Understanding this divine mark is the first step to accepting God's calling. The world may not recognize it. In fact, it may even reject it. But those who carry this mark can sense that there is something different about them. Resistance will come, challenges will arise, but there is also an unexplainable favor that follows them. Opportunities appear without human logic. Doors open where there was no path, and an invisible protection shields them from traps. This mark doesn't exempt them from difficulties, but it guarantees that everything will work together for a much greater purpose. Being marked by God is not just a beautiful title, it's a call to transformation. And this change is not superficial. It's deep, touching the mind, heart, and actions. The person begins to see the world differently. Their priorities shift, and what once seemed essential loses significance in light of God's purpose. Paul, once a persecutor of Christians, underwent a radical transformation when he was touched by God. He didn't just change his opinion, his very essence was renewed. It's impossible to be marked by God and continue living the same way. This transformation is also reflected in daily behavior. Someone who used to react with fear starts acting in faith. Someone who constantly worried about the future learns to trust in God's provision. Decisions are no longer made impulsively, but are guided by spiritual discernment. This doesn't mean perfection, but rather a continuous process of growth. Just like an athlete must train consistently to improve performance, someone marked by God must nurture their faith through prayer, reading the Word, and obeying the voice of the Spirit. But be aware, this renewal won't always be welcomed by the world. People around you may question, criticize, or even distance themselves. After all, when the light shines, darkness becomes uncomfortable. However, those who go through this spiritual transformation understand that the reward is far greater than any rejection. There is a peace that the world cannot give, a clarity about their mission, and a strength from above to keep moving forward. And this change doesn't stop here. It's just the beginning of a journey filled with both challenges and blessings. Being marked by God doesn't mean living a smooth, problem-free life. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Challenges increase, trials become more intense, and obstacles seem to multiply. This happens because those with a divine purpose become targets of the enemy. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and wrongfully imprisoned. Yet all of it was part of God's plan to place him in a position of authority. When challenges come, the right question isn't why is this happening to me, but rather what is God trying to teach me through this? However, challenges often come with unexpected blessings. Those who are marked by God notice that even in their most difficult moments, divine provision is present, and doors open where there seemed to be no way out. Before becoming king, David faced persecution, fled for his life, and lived in obscurity. But at the right time, God placed him on the throne. Many times, what seems like a delay is actually preparation for something greater. Those who trust God, even in the midst of the storm, experience blessings beyond what they could have imagined. Additionally, difficulties shape character and strengthen faith. Every battle won becomes a living testimony of God's power. Fear is replaced with courage, doubt gives way to confidence, and anxiety transforms into hope. Trials do not define those who are marked by God. They prepare them to fulfill their divine purpose. And the greater the calling, the greater the challenges, but also the greater the victories. As the mission begins to unfold, God's signs become more and more evident. Nothing in the life of someone marked by God happens by chance. There are moments that seem random, unexpected encounters, and twists no one could have foreseen. But in reality, everything is part of a much greater plan. When God calls someone, he not only gives them a purpose, but also places spiritual signs along the way. Moses encountered a burning bush, Gideon received divine confirmations, and Samuel heard God's voice as a child. The problem is that many people ignore these signs or try to fit them into human logic, failing to realize that God works in ways beyond human understanding. Discovering divine purpose begins when a person starts to see beyond the natural. Small details take on new meaning, and seemingly unrelated situations begin to align. An unexpected invitation, a word that deeply resonates, a desire to help in a specific area, all of these could be God pointing the way. The challenge is to stay attentive and sensitive to his voice, as the calling often comes quietly, without great spectacle. Those waiting for a dramatic sign may end up missing the opportunity to take the first step. One thing is certain, fulfilling this purpose will never be a solo journey. God always places the right people along the way to help, guide, and strengthen. They may not always be the most obvious choices, and sometimes they come from the most unexpected places. But when the mission begins to take shape, spiritual empowerment becomes evident. Fear is replaced with boldness, insecurity gives way to confidence, and a deep sense of being exactly where one is meant to be takes over. And when the Holy Spirit moves, nothing can stand in the way of God's plan. No mission given by God is accomplished through human strength alone. Those who are marked by Him receive a spiritual empowerment that goes beyond natural abilities. Moses, a man who claimed he wasn't a good speaker, led an entire nation. Peter, a simple fisherman, became one of the greatest preachers of the gospel. This happens because the Holy Spirit equips those who are called. Boldness doesn't come from self-confidence, but from the certainty that God is in control. Once a person understands this, what once seemed impossible becomes just another challenge to overcome. Spiritual empowerment doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means having the courage to move forward despite it. Many people feel unprepared, lacking resources or knowledge, but God never calls without also providing what's needed to fulfill the purpose. Before becoming a great leader, Gideon saw himself as the weakest in his family, without influence or power. Yet he was chosen to deliver Israel. The key isn't human capability, but obedience to the calling. The more a person surrenders, the more God works through them. And when the Holy Spirit moves, everything changes. Words carry greater impact, prayers become more powerful, and faith grows in supernatural ways. Those who walk in this truth begin to see spiritual signs along their journey, doors opening without explanation, strategies forming in their minds, and renewed strength when it seemed impossible to keep going. This is when faith stops being just a concept and becomes a lived experience. Those who step into this level start seeing challenges as opportunities for spiritual growth. Faith doesn't grow in comfort, it grows through challenges. Every obstacle faced by someone marked by God is an opportunity to build spiritual endurance. Before ruling Egypt, Joseph was betrayed, sold into slavery, and unjustly imprisoned. Before becoming king, David spent years running from Saul's persecution. It may seem contradictory, but faith grows the most when everything seems to be working against us. That's when we learn to trust, not in what we see, but in God's divine provision, which always comes at the right time. Anyone who wants to grow spiritually must learn to see difficulties from a new perspective. Trials don't come to destroy us, they come to strengthen us. Just like an athlete needs intense training to reach peak performance, those called by God go through situations that test their trust and dependence on Him. Every battle won takes faith to a deeper level. If before they prayed only out of necessity, now they pray out of conviction. If they once hesitated in the face of problems, now they move forward with confidence, knowing that God never fails. And it's precisely in these moments that God's power is revealed most clearly. Unexpected miracles, last-minute answers, an unexplainable peace in the middle of chaos. These are the details that strengthen faith. What once seemed impossible now becomes a testimony. And those who go through this realize that the journey isn't just about surviving challenges, but about being transformed by them. This growth never stops, because every new season brings a new level of spiritual empowerment. And with greater faith comes a deeper awareness of God's provision. When God marks someone, He also takes responsibility for providing everything they need. This doesn't mean a life without struggles, but rather the assurance that no matter the situation, He will always supply what is essential. During a drought, Elijah was fed by ravens. The widow in Zarephath had only a little oil and flour, yet God multiplied her resources. What do these stories teach us? That God doesn't rely on favorable circumstances to act. He always finds a way to provide for those who live according to His purpose. Divine provision comes in many forms. Sometimes it's an unexpected resource arriving at just the right time. Other times it's an opportunity that opens doors to something greater. The problem is that many people fail to recognize God's hand because they expect provision only in the form of grand miracles. But blessings can come through a simple professional connection, an innovative idea leading to new opportunities, or even wisdom to manage what they already have. Those who learn to rely on God begin to see His provision even in the smallest details, and this trust changes everything. When someone understands that God is the source, the fear of lack disappears. There's no more panic over financial struggles, no more anxiety about the future. Instead, there is a deep conviction that just as God has provided in the past, He will continue to provide in the present and future. This is one of the clearest spiritual signs of someone marked by God, an unshakable certainty that no matter what happens, heaven never goes into crisis. And with faith strengthened, they are ready to grasp an even deeper understanding of their calling. Now that you recognize these signs, the question is, have you noticed God's mark on your life, or have you been ignoring the signs? Many people go years without realizing the calling they carry, while others miss opportunities out of fear or lack of understanding. But if God has chosen you, sooner or later, He will lead you to where you're meant to be. The real question is, will you wait until life forces you to see it, or will you choose to seek more of God right now? If something inside you confirmed what we talked about here, then this is the time to take action. Start paying attention to the signs around you, pray for discernment, and prepare for the spiritual transformation that comes with this journey. And don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because the truth sets us free, but only when it's known. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we talk about spiritual signs, growing in faith and divine purpose. If this content resonated with you, there's much more coming. Now tell me in the comments, which of these signs have you already seen in your life? I'll be reading and responding to continue this conversation with you.